Welcome back to Master 79. In this video we are going to build a complete ielts speaking part 2 and part 3 answer on the topic describe a person you know who loves to grow plants. You will see the brainstorming, the 60-second plan, the full long turn, and then 4 part 3 discussion questions with model answers. First, what part 2 actually is. The examiner hands you a task card and a pencil. You get exactly 1 minute to prepare, and then you speak on your own for 1 to 2 minutes. The examiner will not help you and will not interrupt you. The card gives you 3 bullet points and then 1 explain instruction, and that last one carries the most marks. Remember, stopping after 50 seconds is the single most common way candidates lose marks here. Here is the card. Describe a person you know who loves to grow plants, for example vegetables, fruits or flowers. You should say who this person is, what he or she grows, and where he or she grows them, and explain why he or she enjoys growing plants. Take a moment to read it. Now how to spend those 60 seconds. On the left, what to do. Write keywords, never sentences, about 8 to 10 words at most. Use the bullets as your headings because they are a free structure and you should take it. Decide your ending before you start speaking, and give the why bullet roughly a third of your talking time. On the right, what to avoid. Do not write full sentences and then read them aloud because that destroys your fluency. Do not choose an impressive person you know nothing about. Do not answer all 3 bullets in 40 seconds and then dry up. And avoid memorized openings. Let us brainstorm. Who and what? My Aunt Lan, my mother's younger sister, in her early 50s, working as an accountant. Notice we pick one specific person, not a type. My grandmother in the countryside is the answer half the room will give. Better still, give her a contradiction, an accountant who gardens. Contradictions are memorable and they are easy to talk about. For what she grows, sort it into 3 groups: everyday vegetables and herbs, 2 lemon trees, and flowers just for the look of it. On the right is the language we will use to say all of that. Now where and why. Here is the key move. Turn the limitation into the content. She has no garden at all. Everything is on a 5th floor roof terrace of about 30 square meters. Concrete detail beats adjectives, so we name the containers, the vertical frame up one wall, and the rainwater barrel in the corner. For why, give 2 layers. The surface reason is stress relief after a day of spreadsheets. The deeper reason is nostalgia because she grew up in the countryside. And then a third reason, she gives the produce away to her neighbors. And this is what actually goes on the paper. Who? Aunt Lan, 50s, accountant, escape. What? Vegetables and herbs, 2 lemon trees, marigolds. Where? 5th floor roof, 30 square meters, pots, vertical frame, rain barrel. Why? 1. Stress relief. 2. Nostalgia, the countryside. 3. She gives it away. And the ending, ready in advance. That is 36 words in total, and it is enough for 2 full minutes.
The person I'd like to talk about is my Aunt Lan, my mother's younger sister, who lives about 20 minutes away on the other side of the city. She's in her early 50s and she works as an accountant, and to be honest, gardening is the thing that keeps her sane. She calls it her second job, though it's really her escape from the first one. What she grows is a real mixture. The bulk of it is vegetables and herbs. She's got coriander, basil and spring onions going all year round, plus tomatoes and chilies in the warmer months. Then there are 2 lemon trees in big ceramic pots that she is ridiculously proud of, and along one edge she grows marigolds purely for the look of it, mostly because they're almost impossible to kill. The interesting part is where she grows it all, because she doesn't have a garden in the conventional sense. She lives in a fifth floor apartment, so the whole thing sits on her rooftop terrace, which can't be more than 30 square meters. She's made incredibly clever use of the space. Everything is in containers. There's a vertical frame running up one wall, and she collects rainwater in a barrel in the corner. It looks chaotic, but there's a system behind it. As for why she enjoys it so much, I think there are two things going on. The obvious one is stress relief after a day of staring at spreadsheets. An hour of watering and repotting completely switches her brain off. But the deeper reason, I suspect, is nostalgia. She grew up in the countryside, and the garden is her way of holding on to that. And there's the social side as well. She's constantly giving bags of herbs away to her neighbors. And honestly, I think she enjoys that part most of all.
Here is the whole long turn in one place. It is 309 words, which is about 2 minutes when you speak it at exam pace, so it is a little quicker in our recording. Pause the video and read it through, and notice how every single line traces back to one of those 36 planning words. Part 2 Language Bank. On the left, the phrases that make it sound spoken rather than memorized. To be honest, the thing that keeps her sane, ridiculously proud of, almost impossible to kill. On the right, the signposts that hold the structure together, one for each bullet on the card. Steal these and change the content. Now part 3, the discussion. You will get 4 to 6 questions over about 4 to 5 minutes, all connected to your part 2 topic. The questions turn abstract, not your aunt anymore, but farming, society and education. Aim for roughly 4 to 6 sentences per answer, and use this shape: answer, reason, example or detail, then balance. The examiner is testing whether you can argue, speculate, and concede, not whether you are right. Question 1. What do you think of the job as a farmer? Plan it in 4 beats. Answer: huge respect, and it is badly under-recognized. First reason: it is physically punishing and financially precarious, because income depends on the weather and on market prices. Second reason: it is far more technical than people assume. And the balance: so the real problem is the stereotype, not the work.
It's a job I have enormous respect for, and I don't think it gets anything like the recognition it deserves. On the one hand, it's physically punishing and financially precarious. Your income depends on the weather and on market prices, neither of which you control. On the other hand, farming has become far more technical than people assume. A modern farmer needs to understand soil, chemistry, supply chains, and increasingly data. So I'd say it's a demanding profession that's unfairly stereotyped as unskilled, when in reality it takes a very broad skill set.
Question 2. Are there many people growing their own vegetables now? Answer: yes, noticeably more, especially in cities. First reason: the pandemic was the turning point, with balconies, herbs and salad leaves, and the habit stuck. Second reason: trust, because food safety scandals made people want to know what they are eating. And then concede, do not overstate it. For most people it is a hobby, not self-sufficiency.
Yes, noticeably more than there were, at least in urban areas. I think the pandemic was a real turning point. People were stuck at home, and a lot of them started growing herbs or salad leaves on their balconies almost out of boredom, and then kept it up afterwards. There's also a trust element. Food safety scandals have made people want to know exactly what has gone on to what they eat. That said, I'd be careful about overstating it. For most people, it's a hobby that supplements the weekly shop rather than anything approaching self-sufficiency.
Question 3. Do you think it is good to let kids learn how to plant? Answer: absolutely, and then push further and say it should be in the curriculum. Benefit 1. Patience, because nothing happens for a fortnight. Benefit 2, it makes abstract science tangible. Benefit 3, plus the caveat, they will actually eat the vegetables, but only if it stays hands-on and is never assessed.
Absolutely, and I'd go further and say it should be built into the school curriculum. The most obvious benefit is that it teaches patience. You plant a seed and nothing visible happens for a fortnight, which is a genuinely useful lesson for a generation used to instant results. It also makes abstract science tangible. Photosynthesis stops being a diagram in a textbook. And there's decent evidence that children who grow vegetables are far more willing to eat them. The only caveat is that it has to stay hands-on. The moment it becomes another thing to be tested on, you lose the whole point.
Question 4. What are the differences between traditional and modern agriculture? Answer. The headline difference is scale and mechanization. Then contrast traditional farming is small scale, labor intensive and relies on inherited knowledge, whereas modern agriculture is capital intensive with engineered seed, GPS and sensors. Then the trade-off yields per hectare are up sharply, but so is soil degradation, water depletion, and the loss of biodiversity. And finish with a twist, the two are converging because regenerative farming rediscovers crop rotation and then adds modern data.
The headline difference is scale and mechanization. Traditional farming was small scale and labor intensive, and it relied on knowledge handed down through generations, whereas modern agriculture is capital intensive, machinery, engineered seed varieties, synthetic fertilizers, and now GPS guided equipment and soil sensors. The trade off is fairly clear. Yields per hectare have risen dramatically, which is how we feed a far larger population, but often at an environmental cost. Soil degradation, water depletion, and a loss of biodiversity. What's interesting, though, is that the two are starting to converge. A lot of so-called regenerative farming is essentially rediscovering traditional practices like crop rotation and then backing them up with modern data.
The Part 3 language bank. On the left, hedging and speculating, which is what stops a strong opinion from sounding arrogant. On the right, the arguing and conceding language. Notice whereas, which makes a genuine contrast, and that said, which concedes a point without abandoning your position. So why does this reach band 9? Fluency and coherence, 2 full minutes with no restarts, and the card's bullets become audible signposts. Lexical resource, precise spoken collocation, like financially precarious, and handed down through generations. Grammatical range, relative, concessive and comment clauses used naturally and accurately. And pronunciation, meaning carrying stress on the contrasts. One important note. Band 9 here is our own quality assessment against the public ielts band descriptors. It is not a certified examiner score. Your turn. Set a timer for 1 minute and write your own keyword plan, 10 words, no sentences. Record yourself speaking for 2 minutes without stopping and listen back once. Then swap the person, a colleague, a teacher, a neighbor, keeping the same 4-part shape, and answer those 4 Part 3 questions out loud. Subscribe to bmaster79 for a new ielts speaking topic every week, and I will see you in the next one.